Well, it's happened, ladies and gentlemen. Trey Lance finally out of San Francisco. Now, just in case you don't know, just in case you are new here, I have a story with Trey Lance. I have taken some massive L's over the years, and I'm talking massive L's. But there may not be a bigger L than I've ever taken on where I rank Trey Lance as a quarterback in dynasty rookie drafts, where I drafted Trey Lance in fantasy football drafts last year, and on top of this, where I drafted Trey Lance in fantasy football drafts earlier this offseason. Yes, you heard me right. Yours truly, the idiot, Mason Dodd, was drafting Trey Lance as late and as recently as late July, early August. So I need to be on record. I need to let you know, fully transparent, that I have invested so much more into Trey Lance at a significantly higher price tag than what he is now. Now, let's go through and let's revisit the lesson that we can be learning from Trey Lance and where I got this wrong. So the first thing is, I want to say I am not a college quarterback scout. I don't think you are a college quarterback scout. I think nobody watching YouTube videos will be able to go through and more effectively evaluate quarterback talent coming from college over to the NFL. I think it is one of the most nuanced and complex jobs that anybody can ever have on this planet. And it's almost impossible to figure out exactly who's going to succeed and exactly who's going to fail. So what I typically look at from a fantasy football perspective is I look at the level of team investment into individual players, which is going to indicate job security. It's going to indicate what professional scouts think of said player. I combine that with the situation that they're stepping into, aka can they find success once they get to the NFL level? And lastly, I combine that with what is the rushing upside of this quarterback? Whereas if he were to start and find success from an NFL standpoint, can this be someone that at the same time is able to go through and have success from a fantasy football perspective? So going back to what we initially looked at with Trey Lance, all the way in that 2021 draft class when I ranked him over Justin Fields, and I laughed at people taking Justin Fields over him. And yes, I'm here taking my L. As I looked at a quarterback that the 49ers paid 3 first-round picks to go out there and grab. I looked at a quarterback that went in the top 5 of the NFL draft. I looked at a quarterback that had a ton of rushing upside. And if we look historically, this tells us that quarterbacks will start, quarterbacks will have that job security. This is going to be the first time we have seen in NFL history a team admit that they have taken the fattest L you could ever imagine. Going back and looking at what you had with quarterbacks since the year 2000 that were selected inside the top 3 picks of the NFL draft, some of the biggest busts on this list you'll know. Sam Darnold started 55 games in his NFL career. He was able to fail over and over and over again while teams were giving him chances. Mitchell Trubisky started 55 games in his NFL career. He was able to fail over and over and over again as teams give him chances. Vince Young, 50 games. RG3, 42. And previous to Trey Lance, the biggest bust in NFL history, arguably possibly the biggest bust in sports history, Jamarcus Russell started 25 games at the NFL level. So what I looked at is I went, okay, well, based off this historical data, it almost doesn't matter what's happened unless Trey Lance is either A, the biggest bust in NFL draft history, or B, maybe just somewhat bad. He's going to start this next season. He's going to start. That's why I was drafting him. That's why I was trading for him. I was making a bet that he was not the biggest bust in NFL history. Now, I want to say, clearly I was wrong. If the 49ers are giving up on Trey Lance, if they are sending him over to Dallas for literally nothing, a middle round pick, it is a good situation for Lance to get out of San Francisco. Clearly, his heart was not in this situation. I mean, the team had no faith in him. Literally, he didn't stand a chance. But I can't sit here and say it's the 49ers' fault. It's the 49ers' fault. It's all on them. Lance is now going to thrive when he gets to Dallas. In reality, that's not the situation, right? In reality, Trey Lance is now going to go play behind Dak Prescott. I think that we would be lucky to see any Trey Lance action at all this season. It's probably not happening, right? All those teams I drafted Trey Lance on, they're probably toast for this year. Now, with that being said, if Dak Prescott were to go down, I will be the first person sprinting to my waiver wire to go ahead and pick up Trey Lance, because this is a quarterback that has all the rushing upside in the world. So even if he's quote unquote bad from an NFL perspective, he can still be a very effective fantasy football player. This is the OG Anthony Richardson, right? Where we don't really know if Anthony Richardson is going to be in a great spot this next year, if he's a great quarterback, but it almost doesn't matter because Anthony Richardson's going to score a zillion fantasy points based off his rushing upside. And we can say that he's most likely a starting quarterback based off the Indianapolis Colts, taking him inside the top 5 draft picks. So I had the Anthony Richardson take with Trey Lance. It clearly did not work out with Lance, but that does not mean it can't work out with Anthony Richardson. Now, in terms of how this is going to change things from a fantasy football perspective this next season, obviously does not have a big impact on 2023 drafts. I mean, you're not going to take Trey Lance. You're not really going to be pushing down Dak Prescott due to the addition of Trey Lance. Has no impact on Pollard. Has no impact on CeeDee Lamb. The whole 9 yards. Now, if you did think that was the case, I mean, you could go ahead and look at maybe some of the season-long pick'ems that they have on Underdog Fantasy right now. They have Dak Prescott going at they have Dak Prescott at 26.5 passing touchdowns. They have him at 4,000 passing yards and 12.5 interceptions. So if somehow any of you sickos still think that Trey Lance is going to be viable, like I said, this is my video throwing in the towel. I want to be fully transparent with that. But if you don't think that's the case, feel free to go through and take a lower than line on Dak Prescott here. Like I said, I do not think that Lance is going to be starting this next season. But also, if we look at where these guys are getting drafted, we can swing over to an Underdog draft that I'm currently in. Obviously, this is the same site as what you were just looking at with those season-long pick'em lines. These are our best ball drafts, no time commitment at all during the season. So I drafted 700 teams, won $150,000 last year on Underdog. And of course, if you want to get in a draft with us, you can find the link in the live chat description comment section. Promo code FLOCK. They're going to match first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And only with promo code FLOCK on Underdog, you can get set up with a Josh Allen more than less than half a passing yard pick'em special for week 1 against the Jets. Work my butt off to get you all that. Please make sure you're taking advantage. But we can sit here in this draft and we can see if this has any impact on where you end up getting where you end up getting Dak Prescott off the board. I would imagine that Dak is not going to fall in the slightest here, right? Now, of course, maybe I am just a defeated Trey Lance drafter. There is definitely a possibility on that. So can y'all please go down and spam the chat? Does this either move Dak Prescott down or remain the same in your fantasy football rankings for 2023? Please spam the chat. Let me know what you think. And also, while you're down there, if you have not done so already, make sure you're going down there, dropping a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Okay. So, yeah, looks like everybody in agreement in this live stream as it should be, that Dak Prescott does stay the same and you have no movement here at all. Now, I will say, I do think this has a little bit more of an impact from a dynasty fantasy football perspective. Not that I think that by any means this sets up a position where Trey Lance can be the starting quarterback in Dallas in 2024, 2025. I don't think that's the plan. I think the plan is they continue to have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott plays well, and he's their starter for the foreseeable future. But now they at least have a little bit of pressure on the back end when it comes to Dak Prescott, in that if he does continue to struggle when it comes to, say, the overall interceptions, when it comes to the efficiency of his play, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world to all of a sudden see a little bit of pressure on the back end of Dak Prescott with Trey Lance there, right? So, no impact on Dak for 2023. A possible impact on Dak in Dynasty. And the main question is now what is Trey Lance worth in Dynasty Fantasy Football? If you don't play Dynasty, feel free not to say anything in the live chat. But if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football in a 12-team Superflex League, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a mid-2024 second-round rookie pick, or would you rather have Trey Lance? Please let me know what y'all think, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So second Lance, second Lance, second. Torsten asking how much I bench press when I was on the powerlifting team at 160-ish pounds. I hit 225 for 12 reps. You can find the video on this YouTube channel. First video we posted. Pick, second. Yeah, so it looks like most people are taking the second round pick. We have some Trey Lances mixed in, but keep in mind, a lot of us are Trey Lance bag holders, right? And I take full responsibility for being that Trey Lance bag holder. So I would imagine that if you go through and ask a different community where maybe we aren't full-blown Trey Lance bag holders, you would have people spamming the chat just saying, give me a second round pick. So it's an interesting spot. I'm excited that he's out of Dallas. I clearly would have way rather him gone to a situation where he'd have a chance to start this year outside of injury, whether that's to Atlanta, whether that's to Washington. Hell, really any team but one that has a franchise QB would have been a little bit better. But Bobcat asking how much is left on Dak's contract. Like I was saying previously, it's not like all of a sudden, I mean, this is a spot where they're planning on having Trey Lance as the starting quarterback after Dak's contract runs out. If he does well, sure, it's great. But I mean, Trey Lance here is legitimately just a scratch-off lottery ticket here for the Dallas Cowboys. Peanut Butter Waiver says, fire Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, I mean, we can be fair and say, I need to take a massive L, but I'm not the team that traded 3 first-round picks to take Trey Lance number 3 overall in the NFL draft. So definitely fire Kyle Shanahan way before you fire me. So Dak has next year under contract as well. But, I mean, Dak's only 30 years old. Plan A for the Dallas Cowboys is Dak Prescott plays better this next season. He starts for them the next 6-7 years, right? Like, plan A, trust me, is not that Trey Lance is the starter in 2025. So, but it is what it is. And you better believe now that Trey Lance is a Dallas Cowboy, based off the dynasty teams I have Trey Lance on, based off the best ball teams I drafted Trey Lance on earlier this offseason, if he were to start this next season, your boy will finally be a fan of an NFL team. And your boy will be officially a Dallas Cowboys fan. We'll see. We'll see. But in this draft, we go Anthony Richardson 104, essentially this year's version of Trey Lance, right? No idea if he's good, but top 5 NFL draft pick with a bunch of rushing upside. So we are going to go ahead. We are going to take him. And it was a 4th round pick. Dear God. Dear God. 4th round pick. Eliminator draft, we don't care as much about correlation. We'll go ahead and we'll take Cousins here. But I think that should be about it for this update. Hopefully I was able to be reasonable, take accountability, and speak on what's most likely going to happen going forward. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know I'll be live tomorrow, the next day, the day after. We will be drafting Underdog Fantasy Football team. So of course, if you want to get into one of these drafts with us, they're best ball, no time commitment at all during the year. Promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match up to $100. Plus, we get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And also, only with promo code FLOCK are you going to get to take advantage of the Josh Allen more than less than half a passing yard line week 1 against the Jets. 2 other things. 1, just in case you don't know, their best ball drafts, how I drafted 700 teams, 150,000 last year. Don't know if we already said it. And 2, this is your opportunity. After this ends, go to the comment section. Free reign. Make fun of me as much as you possibly want to. Call me an idiot. I deserve it. I deserve to take a massive L. Yeah, we're going to end the live stream. Feel free to go and scream mean names to me all you want. But thank you again. Really do appreciate y'all, ladies and gentlemen. And I will hopefully get to draft with y'all in the live stream tomorrow night.